Welcome back, everyone. So we are going to be jumping into the second part of our focus on legal implications for our businesses today. And we're really excited to have Michael Weinberger join us. Michael is an associate of business and privacy law at Siskins here in London, Ontario. Michael's practice focuses on business and privacy law. He's committed to giving effective advice to local, national, and international businesses in English, Spanish, French, and German. So Michael is here to take us through a little bit of a presentation, but is also open to quite a bit of Q&A. So this is the session that I asked you to prep some questions about, particularly legal implications for your own businesses. Without further ado, Michael, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. My name's Michael. It's really nice to meet all of you. As Kelsey mentioned, I'm a business lawyer here local in town in London, Ontario. Not to repeat too much, here's my pre-COVID haircut. This is my post-COVID haircut, very tame. There's not enough gel in the world, to keep it straight. I studied law at the University of Edinburgh, straight out of high school, and then I went to do a Master's of Law in Finance at the University of Frankfurt. I also completed a year of law school at the University of Paris. What this means is I've been studying and working as a lawyer for the past 10 years, and there came the time when I decided to come back to Canada, come to London, Ontario, my hometown. Many of you may know Siskins is located on the corner of Piccadilly and Pall Mall, and we are a full-service firm. So if you have a family law matter, if you have a business law matter, a personal injury matter, we're here to help you. We have over 80 lawyers and a variety of specializations. And one of those specializations are incorporations, reorganizations, privacy law, partnerships, joint ventures, and startups like yourselves. I say when it comes to startups, there's nothing really new under the sun. Before it was just called starting your own business. So this is something that our firm has been doing for decades and decades and decades. We're highly involved in the local Southwestern Ontario community. We're active members of Tech Alliance. We're members of the Illegal Hackers chapter. We're sponsors and supporters of SWO Angels. We have working relationships with other incubators here in town and other accelerators such as Roundhouse. So today, what I want to talk about is funding and what to expect when expecting funding. A lot of business owners, when they start their business, they need to start looking for money, and it's very important to set the right kind of expectations, to know what to look for, and a lot of the missteps that you can avoid. So if you take just the right few steps in the very beginning, you can save yourself a lot of headaches down the road. So every funding is different. So you have a different time in the life cycle of your business. You have different kinds of investors. You have different methods of investing. So for example, if you want to borrow money from, let's say, your rich Uncle Tom, you can say, hey, I can give you an IOU, right? You can give them a promissory note, so a fancy term for an IOU. Or for example, you can give your shares, so you can make an equity deal. Alternatively, many of you I'm sure have heard of safe notes. So these are simple agreement for future equity notes. And some of you might also be looking money for crowdfunding. So making sure that you have a clear understanding of what your business looks like, what lifestyle, what life cycle your business is in, it's important to take that as the context, and using that, making sure you have the right kind of deals set up in place with the right kind of legal language to, number one, protect yourself, and number two, make sure that it allows your business to grow as efficiently as possible. So here we can see a chart of kind of like the timeline of a business and revenues. And in the beginning, people are often looking for angels, they're looking for seed capital. They're looking for the 3 F's. So friends, families, and fools, to give them funding and to, support their idea into becoming a reality. From there, the typical next stage is you go to early stage funding, where you're dealing with a lot of more sophisticated investors. Typically, as you move on, you go from very risk open investors, so like angel investors. They're okay if their $20,000 investment goes down the tubes, because they have 100 other of them, and at least 2 of them will play off handsomely. Whereas once you start going into dealing with other investors, that's when they want more certainty of their returns. And then lastly, you can go on to secondary offerings, and let me know when your company is being put on the Toronto Stock Exchange. I'd be happy to help you with that. Has been, kind of the ultimate goal. Often, people will come to these guys, local friendly investors, making offers to you, looking for equity. And one of the other groups that look for investing are governments, right? So the government often gives funding to local businesses. There are grants that are made for local businesses. In fact, there are businesses that are dedicated to helping small businesses achieve grants from the government or from a university. And so when you're dealing with the different kinds of investors, you want to make sure that you have the right kind of the right tools. If you're dealing with friends, family, and fools, you can, I'm not suggesting this, but you could potentially draw something on the back of a napkin and or just have a handshake deal. But once you move into governments and grants and more sophisticated investors, you want to make sure that you have more proportionally sophisticated legal documentation and legal representation. So one of the questions, and in my experience, one of the kind of big, not misunderstandings, but rather unknowns is how long will it take to actually get your funding. So let's assume you have your aunt, and your aunt says, okay, I'm ready to invest $100,000 in your company. What happens is either they can just send you an e-transfer, $100,000, handshake, and that's it. But what more likely is to happen is they're going to want some actual legal documentation to prove that they have this IOU and to make sure that they're secured in their loan. So typically, if all things go well, we're able to turn around all this documentation, and this process takes about 3 weeks. Alternatively, it can take up to 3 years. Just as a show of hands, who here has kind of dealt with investors and has seen that kind of experience? Okay, well, that's okay. It'll be a learning experience then. So the other alternative is it can take 3 years. Often investors have 100,000 different prospects, and they get 200 emails in their inbox a day, and they don't prioritize the lending to your business, and they don't prioritize making sure that documents get out in time. But the more important part is the timing can actually be not 3 weeks, not 3 years, but the entire duration of your company. What I mean by this is you have repeat customers, repeat investors. So when somebody goes in and offers you that first seed money and they see that your business is expanding, your relationship doesn't end with them there, right? It doesn't like, okay, I got the $100,000 in my bank account. I have to, all the flirting and the courting with this investor, this angel investor. I finally, I got the money, and that's the end of communication. No, that's when the real work happens. That's when you start to take that money, invest it, and you continue to communicate with this investor, because now they've already bought into your concept. They've already bought into your business. And so when you go around the second time asking for money, then you've already, you have that warm introduction. So you have to make sure that you nurture that relationship from your investors. So that's timing. One of the big other aspects of what to expect when expecting funding is to understand due diligence. So businesses, when they lend money, they want to make sure that the business itself is healthy and strong and viable. And in order to accomplish that, they want to look under the hood. And due diligence is the step that lets them really take that micro analysis of what your business looks like. They will often send questionnaires to business owners like yourselves. And one of the things is like, hey, why are they asking me, what my net worth is? One of the questions is like, why do they want to know if I own a car? Why do they want to know where I live and if I own a house? What they're trying to determine is like, if your business goes bust, will they be able to recover from you personally? So they want to make sure that they're giving their money, and if things go wrong, they have a plan B. The next big thing is ILA, so independent legal advice. So they want to make sure that you've been informed, because when there are lawyers on both sides, it's a lot more difficult to kind of wiggle your way out of a contract and say that you were kind of duped or fraudulently led into borrowing or certain amounts of money. What it all boils down to is trust. And so they want to be sure, they want to have that trust in you, they want to know that trust in your team. But this is just the beginning. They further go on to, they may go on deeper into your company. So they're going to want to look at contracts. They're going to want to look at employee agreements. They're going to want to look at your, if you make jam, they want to know your recipes, right? They want to know, what's your secret sauce? Is your sauce actually gluten-free as you advertise? They want to double check everything. They have a list of risks that they want to establish that they can get rid of. In addition, when it comes to legal things, do you have a criminal record, right? Not all investors ask this, but this is one of the things that they will ask is, do you have a criminal record? Because they, many investors have been burned by people that have a criminal past, or even, currently not working in the most well-lit environments. They're also going to ask are you incorporated, and are you incorporated properly? It's more sophisticated investors. For more sophisticated investors, it is not enough that you're simply incorporated. They want to make sure that the bylaws are properly passed. They want to make sure that the articles of incorporation are properly drafted. They want to make sure that, when you merged with another company, that the proper legal diligence occurred. Like, did you pass a shareholders resolution? Did you accept that shareholders resolution? Because otherwise, what happens is that deal can just become all unraveled. They by the technicalities of the law. So a word to the wise is, when looking at incorporating your business, there are, you can incorporate directly with the government for $350, and you can have your own number, but numbered corporation. But if you don't have the actual documentation to ensure the working fluidity of your corporation, investors may shy away from that. In addition, they're going to want to look at your books. All right. So if you use software like QuickBooks, for example, they're going to want access to them. They're also going to want to know your IP, right? So if you run a business that helps teachers grade papers, and your logo is a big check mark that looks like a Nike swoosh, right? Is your logo, is your brand name, are they trademarked? Do you have the proper protections for your IP? I know the other presenters touched on this, but this is really, really important. One thing that you should all know as well, if you have employees and they produce intellectual property, that intellectual property does not automatically go to you and your business. I repeat, that intellectual property does not go automatically to you or your business. You have to make sure that your employees sign in their employment agreement or in a separate agreement that they will assign, give, whatever verb you want to use, that intellectual property is yours and yours alone. So it's often not enough. So you can, you really want to make sure that this space is covered. It's very, very important. Lastly, taxes. Have you paid your taxes? Everybody loves the CRA. Everybody loves, getting that. The tax return. That helps lessen the blow. But are you making sure that you're all up, you're paid up? Because otherwise the government will come knocking, and they don't stop knocking. It's operations. Does your business, if you're making grandma's jam, they're going to want to know. They want pictures of your kitchen. Is it clean? Has it passed the records? Is there, a culture of workplace bullying in your office? Is there a culture of workplace bullying between the employees? These are all really serious considerations. They want to know cybersecurity. Are your passwords sophisticated? Does your office have a key to open up? Does it have video to make sure that data is not stolen? This is becoming an increasingly important and scrutinized area of law. And lastly, privacy. Do you have the right privacy policy? Do you have one that's up to date? So if you are a normal business, you want to make sure that your business follows PIPEDA. But if by chance you're collecting medical information, right? If you have a form that says, please enter your weight, your height, and date of birth, then you might want to consider, right? Do I need a FIPA compliant policy, which is the health privacy guidelines? One other common issue that comes up is, so the investor looks at your business and they say, okay, everything's great. I have the money right here. So you just give me the IOU. And then they say, and then you say like, okay, I have your IOU. I have this piece of paper that says I owe you $100,000, but you give me the money first. And then they'll say, no, you give me the paper first. And then you have this impasse. So I remember when I was, on the bus and you're making a trade for, my Rice Krispies square for that blueberry muffin, there's that insecurity of what happens if you just take my Rice Krispies square and don't give me the blueberry muffin. And you can tell lunchtime is coming around the corner because I'm so conscious figuring out what I'm going to have for lunch here. But there are two options, right? There's the trust method, where you simply give money to the other person. The lender gives you money and you hand over the IOU. The other version is with lawyers. And with lawyers, we take the lender's money and we put it into trust in our accounts, which means we don't touch it, it stays there. Then you, the borrower, give us the IOU, the promissory note, and then we put that into our accounts. And then once we see both accounts are in, then we exchange the money. So just as an example, 2 weeks ago, we represented a company that received an investment of $160 million. And the $160 million came in many chunks of change. We added them all up and we said, there's $100,000 missing. And so we did not give out the documents to the investors. And then the $100,000, lo and behold, was on its way. It arrived 5 minutes later, and then the documents went out. So this is all well said and done, but what are kind of the hitches, glitches, and bugs that often occur during funding? So often a lender might get cold feet, which is not your fault, and there's not much a borrower can do about it. If the lender says, you know what, last minute, I'm not going to sign this document, I'm not going to give you the money. So it's the unfortunate reality that if you're borrowing money and somebody is lending it to you, they ultimately control if you get it. There are ways around this, which I will touch on in my next slide, but that's generally the case. What's this $19.95 charge? I was going to borrow $100 and all I see is $80 in my bank account. There's a $20 wire charge fee, right? Why did I have to pay this, right? Why is the postage? Why am I being charged for postage, right? When you engage in the lending and borrowing of money, there are all these little side costs that you have to make sure it's outlined who actually pays them, right? These are generally afterthoughts, but it can cause confusion, disappointment, and it's annoying to be nickeled and dimed. So be careful to, think about these other small details. And you ask, well, Michael, nobody does postage anymore. I mean, this is 2020, everybody uses Zoom. Even my grandmother, she uses Zoom. Like, why would I ever need postage? Well, in Ontario, the law is such that certain documents must still be signed in wet ink. What this means is if you're signing a promissory note, that IOU, you cannot complete it electronically. You can't do it online. You have to print out the document, take, this archaic thing called a pen, and put wet ink to the paper. And then you post it out, or you send it out, or whatever, pigeon carrier if you'd like, but it cannot be online. Negotiations are another issue, right? What will happen is you can go into an investor and say, look, I want $100,000 at 10%. And the investor will say, okay, and does his due diligence and notices that one of your main pieces of intellectual property is actually owned by your employee. So they'll say, look, I'm not going to give you $100,000 for 10%. I'll give you $80,000 for 10%. So you want to make sure that if you're gearing up for investment, that all these those issues I brought up in the due diligence section, that those are up to scrub. It's spit shine, polished, looks good inside and out, so that it doesn't give too much leverage to the investor to, bargain you down in the price that he will give you or she will give you. Lastly, there's legitimacy. A lot of investors are not worried of con men, but they want to make sure that you are a legitimate business, that you are somebody who could be trusted, that you have a real business model, and that you are represented accordingly. So the question becomes, like, how do I avoid these mistakes? Essentially, one of the things you can do is you can hire a lawyer, right? Automatically saying, hey, to your investor, send it. Yes, I have a lawyer on board. They've incorporated me. It adds to your business a level of legitimacy. It adds a level of professionalism to your business, and it gives the investor comfort in knowing that you've done things correctly from the beginning. You can also avoid these missteps by establishing expectations, by speaking with your investors, speaking with your funders, clearly written in paper. Say, I expect to give you this money in 2 years. I expect you to give me this money by the end of the month, so that I can give it back to you again in 2 years with a profit, right? And you want, again, everything in writing. So if somebody calls you up and you have a phone call, or you go to the patio and you have a beer, you want to write down as a follow-up letter, say, hey, Melissa, great chatting with you. I think $100,000 at 10% over 2 years works well. Please confirm, right? You want to make sure that there's a paper trail, because what you don't want is a he said, she said situation. And, communicating, being open, being transparent, and making sure that you have the right understanding with your investor. So if you say from the very beginning, like, hey, I want $100,000 at these terms, and then you say, I will pay for the postage and wire transfer fee. Or you say, I do not accept wire transfer fee. Please e-transfer me directly, as to avoid, that $20 wire transfer fee. So the next question is what is the cost for services, right? There's the often misconception that lawyers have to be very expensive, that they're difficult to access, and that, your legal fees can spiral out of control. To the contrary, I like to think I'm easy to access. I'm affordable. I offer flat fee rates for documentation, negotiation, and time. And what I offer is an exclusive offer to local accelerator groups and incubators like yourselves. So if you were to come off the street and say, hey, I run business ABC, I say, okay, my hourly rate is $200 an hour. If you say, hey, here I am, with the Fanshawe Leap Junction Group, I say, hey, great, I have this whole list, which you can see here on the right of the screen, of documents that I have set up at fixed rate prices. So if you want a loan agreement, for example, if you want to borrow $100,000 from an investor, you have to set up a general security agreement. You need a promissory note. You need a waiver of independent legal advice. You need my time of legal advice. You need printing, etc. All of that is offered as a single flat base fee, so that you know exactly how much you'll be paying. So just a few months ago, we did the exact thing. $100,000. Our fee was $1,500, taken from the top of that. So we did all the back work, we did all the leg work, we did all the legal work, and the borrower at the end of the day saw $100,000 minus our fee in their bank account. One other aspect I'd like to add is when you use a lawyer and things go, if you arrange for lending by yourself and things go south, you essentially only have yourself to rely upon. When you hire a lawyer, I'm insured. So that means my services are protected if things go wrong. Your risk, your liability is covered by my insurance. To give you that added kind of peace of mind of knowing that things will be done correctly, and God forbid they're not, then you are still protected. So with that, hopefully I didn't bore you all too much. I know it's a lot of information to take in. So if you have any questions, I have my cell phone number up there. Feel free to text me. I got the other day, one of my clients now who I met at one of the Tech Alliance meetings gave me a text, said, "Hey, Michael, great news. I have a private equity firm looking to invest in my business, but I need to be incorporated. Can you do it tomorrow?" To which my response was, "Perfect, yes," right? So moving with the times of 2020, feel free, text, call, email. I'd be happy to sit down and go over your business, figure out what needs to be done, and then go through the different options. So often when people go to a lawyer, they feel kind of left out of the process, and as if there are there's only one option, and that's a misconception. I think that business owners, right, they're dealing with their business. The most important thing to them, at least career-wise, they should have some say, some understanding, making sure that they feel part of the process, that they have control over what is done, how it is done, and to limit, budgets that are fixed, affordable, accessible, and easy to understand. So with that, if you have any questions, please let me know. First, it'd be great if you introduced yourself, what your business is about, and I'm sure often, you wouldn't be surprised, but if you're having one problem, often the other business owner is having a similar problem. So yeah, go ahead, you guys.
So you guys, in this portion of our day, we can do this a couple ways. So if someone has a pressing question, we can ask them, but my thought was what I would do is I'd kind of call on each of you to deliver your value proposition, your name, tell us about your business, and then maybe just a quick rundown of what maybe some of your legal considerations or concerns are that have come out of today, what you've learned or what you think might be on your radar for the future. Give me a thumbs up if that second process works for you. Cool. I'm just going to call you on the order that you are in my screen, if that's all right for you then. So hopefully everybody is ready to be in the hot seat. Chris, you are first.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm the founder of Bernice. So we create accessories and apparel for dogs in unique styles and prints. And we are on a mission to help dogs in need by donating 5% of our profits to animals in need. So that's my business. And For legal questions, I guess I was thinking about the whole time is just like I guess like dealing with freelancers and how to make your intellectual property like yours. And I mean there's a lot of stuff like they'll say that like yeah it is yours and like you'll buy like using prints for like a certain amount of time and for a certain amount of products, and then like I guess like is there a way for them to come back and sue you later, like if your business does really well and those prints sell really well and then they come back and they're like well actually and then I guess like my other thing would be like how to be less liable for products. Like you go through like a stringent manufacturing process, you go through someone who's like reliable and your products are sturdy, they're safe, and then somehow a customer like something happens, and how do you become less liable for that, I guess, because if it is their fault and then they sue you and like I don't know, it's tricky. I guess that's something I get scared of, I think about, because like yeah, like for example a dog could chew their way out of a collar.
Yep.
And there's a big thing right now about that, and like for example like if the customer left their dog there and they chewed through a collar, then like how liable am I?
Yeah, no, I understand. No,
Yeah.
that's a good question. So to first go with your IP question, make sure that when you look at their contracts, make sure that it's clearly stated who indeed owns the IP. And if you don't feel comfortable, like if you don't understand it, if it's in legalese and you know it's all Greek to you, then say, please reformulate this. I want to be able to understand this in plain English. If you want to make sure, because otherwise, you want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And
Okay.
so, first by starting like plain English, that's the basic. And then from there, once that's in plain English, you should be able to understand. Like, you can also put in examples, right? Say, for example, if you will not sue me in any event, just to put in oversimplified language. To go about product liability, one of the things you can do to protect yourself and your assets is you can incorporate, so that if you're, instead of you being sued, it's your corporation that's sued. So you keep your house, you keep your car, etc. You can also get insurance, like personal liability insurance, product insurance, and you can also in the contracts with your producers. So if you have a producer with that makes dog collars, you can say you put in what's called an indemnity clause. So you say, should this product fail, you will indemnify me up to $1 million, for example. Or you can say, you must have insurance for this of at least $2 million. And they probably do have insurance already, right? This company probably already does have insurance, but you want to make sure that you are one of those protected parties under that insurance.
Okay, that helps a lot. Thank you so much.
No, of course, Chris, my pleasure.
Thanks, Chris. Christine, you're next.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for being here with your.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
I'm a life coach. I provide services and also e-learning platform for my customer. I have similar questions like Chris in terms of liability, because we don't have an association. It's not like like nursing or teacher. So there's no association for me to join to protect that. And I was always wondering, should I get insurance for my service, as well as the protection of the property, intellectual property, because if my packages or my program belongs to me, if that is enough, if I have a clause there, like if I'm delivering a program such as this, how do I protect myself for not getting this be duplicate or stolen?
Yeah, so trademarking is often the way to go. So if you want to protect your brand name, if you want to protect your logo, you can have those trademarked. The downside of trademarking is that it takes a very long time. It takes up to 2 years to have your product, to have your logo fully trademarked. However, you have some protection once you start the process. Alternatively, you can, like, let's say you're worried about them, you have an ebook and you're worried that they'll just copy word for word, right? That would be a copyright infringement. And so you can draft up like a cease and desist letter, right? But it's difficult to stop people from copying you, but you can always protect yourself again through trademark and cease and desist letters to help mitigate those risks. When it comes to getting I know you don't have like, for example, like doctors or nurses, they have their own insurance. As myself, as a lawyer, I have my own we have our own insurer. You can always get professional liability insurance, and it's not very expensive. Just Google and you can find something.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, Christine.
Thanks, Christine. Tyler, you're next.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Tyler, we can hear you.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for your time today.
My pleasure.
So my name's Tyler French. I'm located on Chippewa-the-Thames First Nation. I'm Indigenous-owned sole proprietorship, and I'm opening up Ontario's first museum and event facility. So my first question to you, sir, is do you have any experience or history working with any First Nation businesses?
To be frank, no. Which is something that, in the future I'd like to change. And I'm open to working with you and First Nations run businesses.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I'd be happy to build that bridge with you, sir. I've had years of experience working in the London courthouse, and I've worked with also Nammern Friendship Center, being a combined court worker. So I have that, that knowledge and experience where it won't be working with someone that you'll be starting with point A from. So that leads me to my next question: is what type of liability insurance have you seen or suggested regarding wedding venues in your experience, if you have any regarding that field of study?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for not in my legal capacity, but in my own personal capacity, I am the president of PALA, the London Ontario Latino Association, and we have run events. With through our group and our organization, and it's the experience is, we take out a venue, we get venue insurance, and to make sure you read it properly, and again to make sure you understand what the words mean, and if you don't understand it, to ask and to make sure it's put into simple plain English.
Perfect. Okay, and my last question here, I don't want to chew up too much of anybody else's time. I appreciate your knowledge, sir. I just got a situation here, and this is a perfect example of maybe something that you might want to tackle. 2 years ago, so I run one of my museum aspects is the sports memorabilia, and the price and value of some of the jerseys has been going up because the people are just wanting to collect more intimate stuff from athletes. I had a pretty big auction house take three very important items of mine that I was in a hardship 2 years ago for financial situation. So I wanted those three things up for auction, and he took more than 6 months than what we discussed verbally, like what you're talking about, good to get things written down on paper, is that within those 6 months, my hardship wasn't a hardship, so I requested for those items to be returned. And what he in turn did is he sold them a year later on his auction site. So I have the proof of him selling it, but then I also have me, like the email of asking for those items back. So I was just going to ask what your advice to do about the proper protocol, and if it's something you'd like to discuss afterwards, is that he basically just wanted to say, well, I've sold your items, what would you like in return? And I was like, that's not how it worked. Like I really wanted those things sold when I was in a financial hardship, but now when I didn't need those sold, I reached out to you to return those. I haven't met him in Toronto, seen him in person. He said he forgot them, and then 6 months later they appeared on his, and I say this national memorabilia website. And he's just kind of avoiding me now, where this has been going on for over 6 months since that started. So I just wanted to hear if you have any insight or knowledge, or if you'd like to help me out with that. It's something that I would like to tackle, because in long story short, he's
Oh, you with us, Tyler? Well, I think we
yeah, no, I was getting a random call from the United Kingdom. So sorry about that. Yeah, so at short story long there, he just calls, or he's calling my bluff, or he's basically asking me to lawyer up. When I just wanted to solve the situation, man to man, told him I wasn't financially stable. You didn't sell them when we needed to. I reached out to you to return them. You went and sold them. Now he wants to replace them with different memorabilia, which isn't the same. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I understand. Kind of when it gets to that, then you kind of have to figure out to get a lawyer or not. The other alternative is, if you're looking for, you also have the ability to take somebody to small claims court. So, which is a system that's meant to be simplified, it's meant to be cheaper, and it's meant to be more straightforward. And it's a lot more easy to access and accessible. My one kind of suggestion is there's a time bar for most issues like this, so which is 2 years. So if you can, I usually say the steps of the courthouse should be the last steps taken. So give yourself, if you think the cause is lost, then you can apply online actually through small claims court, and it's a simplified process that's more accessible. So that'd be my suggestion. Okay, Tyler?
Yeah, no, I appreciate your advice, sir. And again,
my pleasure.
thank you it was nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Tyler.
I'm good, Kel. Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Jared, do we have you on the phone there? I'll come back to you, Jared. Next up, we have Jesse.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, Jesse.
I'm Jesse. I founded a small hot sauce company in town here called the Hot Sauce Co. We're kind of just like an independent, straight up hot sauce company. No gimmicks, no funny names, just make really good quality sauce. I guess a question I would have is obviously around liability. Heaven forbid somebody gets sick off of one of my sauces or whatever the case. One of the bottles breaks, a piece of glass is inside the bottle. I don't know. There's a million different things that can happen with food, right? I have been bouncing around the idea of incorporating and then going under a corporate number represented by my name. I know you said earlier, I overheard you say, you can incorporate a business with the government for $350 yourself. But then, maybe all your paperwork might not be, I don't know, in order, or T's not crossed, I's not dotted, stuff like that. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, would it be best to, just spend the money and get somebody to do it? Or in my stage in the game, as early, like I'm pretty much a startup, fairly new, but I'm starting to get stores picking up my product, which opens me up, I think, to more potential issues. What's kind of your 2 cents on it?
Yeah, no, good question. So the a lot of businesses think that the very first thing they should do is incorporate, and that's generally not what I advise businesses to do. What you can first do is you start off as kind of a sole proprietorship.
Yep.
Cover yourself with having the right kind of insurance,
Yeah.
making sure that the manufacturers of the hot sauce and the facilities have the right kind of insurance as well, that you're protected under their insurance.
Okay.
You also, and then what you do is you take those losses, you take those personal losses, and then you roll them into your company. So it's kind of a tax advantageous way of doing this. You can also, incorporate up for the $300, and then when you sign contracts, make sure you don't sign under your own name, but you actually sign under the company's name. So
Okay.
it's the company signing the contract and not you. And if you don't foresee getting investors in any time soon, or if you're not kind of gearing up to that, just paying the $300 registering is definitely a serious consideration.
Okay.
And then once you're looking to get investors, once you want to bring people on board, then go for it.
Yeah, kind of then rework everything, maybe then go approach a lawyer and say, this is where I'm at so far, this is where I'm trying to go with investors. Can you just make sure everything's in order for them to look at? Okay. You did mention, so like for the commercial kitchen I use, it's a restaurant downtown. I doubt they have anything about me making my sauce on their insurance, because I just kind of do it like once a week, kind of at their place. I'm not an employee there or anything. I kind of just have an agreement with the owner. Is that something I should I think that's something I should probably address.
Yeah, I mean, approach the restaurant and be like, hey, I'm interested to know what kind of insurance I have, and what kind of protections there might be for me. Otherwise, you might want to look at getting it yourself.
Yeah, just getting my own insurance for it. Or getting my own kitchen. What was that last part, sorry?
No, that's it, yeah. Just getting your own insurance.
Cool, thanks, Michael.
No problem. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. Looks like Jared was having some hard time unmuting himself. So Jared, if you press *6, you should be able to unmute yourself. Are you good?
Can you guys hear me now?
We can. Hi, Jared.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've never had a call in before, and my Wi-Fi gave out of nowhere, so.
Good day.
Yeah. So, hello, my name's Jared Rogers. I am the owner-operator of JR Welding. We specialize in custom fabrication, such as wood stoves, handrails, or gym equipment, and so on. I guess my biggest question is liability. I know I need to get insurance. I've just been doing smaller side jobs for people I know, but it's tough to know when to go get the insurance. And do you just have any recommendations on that, I suppose?
Yeah, ASAP. As soon as possible. You want to make sure that you're protected, because, again, it's up to your risk tolerance as well. If you're willing to, put your tools, equipment, house, car, savings on the line, then that's up to you. But generally, getting insured, getting incorporated, you can get, incorporated for $300, and then just making sure you kind of push things out through your corporation as opposed to yourself. That's another way to protect yourself. So look online, find some insurance, find some insurance, do the math. How much is it going to cost you? Or you figure out, hey, incorporation is a way for me, and you can go that way as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like how you brought up just like the cheap version of incorporating, and then because then you're just through that, so at least they could come after the business. But when the business doesn't have a lot of money, something. I see that. Thank you.
No problem, Jared.
Thank you, Jared. Kristen, you're next.
Hi, Michael. Nice to meet you. I'm Kristen. My business is Soul Runners. So we teach guided running programs to people of all fitness levels. My question is more about the privacy policy. So my lawyer drafted me up a registration agreement for all the different programs that I have. And in them is personal information like weight, injuries, previous injuries, that kind of thing. I don't think she included anything about having any kind of privacy policy in there. Is that something I should revisit with her, or is that something I can do myself, just like plop it in at the end or something?
So there's reference to the privacy policy, but there's no actual privacy policy?
There's no privacy policy at all.
Okay, yeah. You should look at getting a privacy policy. If you're looking to get a privacy policy, like through you can do it through a lawyer like myself. You can do it through Clause Hound. Excuse me. The difference being, what I would offer would be, insured. It'd be more tailored to what you're looking for. You have a little bit more certainty in knowing that the product is the quality is there. I'm sure Clause Hound does a great job too. But you can look at that. If you want to do a little bit of do-it-yourself work, if you look at the FIPA, so you look at FIPA, there's the PHIPA. Look at there's the legislation, and then there's the regulation.
Okay.
And on the regulation to FIPA, there's an exception for companies that do not have to follow FIPA. And one of them is like fitness studios. Look it up. If you're satisfied with what you come up with, that's great. If you're looking for more guidance, let me know. But I would suggest, if you're collecting people's information, to have at minimum some kind of privacy policy.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Suraj.
Michael, my name is Swaraj. My business is Taxably. Taxably provides a user-friendly, affordable online platform to make taxes easier, faster, and affordable for people. My question would be to, number one would be like a trademark copyright of our product, what we are trying to do, and the names. And also, is there any requirements? We have a small written extract for privacy policies as well. Like any other tips you would have for me?
Yeah, so if you're looking to trademark, start sooner than later. As I mentioned, it takes a long time to get your trademark up and going. If you're looking for a privacy policy, again, make sure that when you, let's say you decide to go with Clause Hound, make sure that it applies to actually your business and it applies to the information that you are actually collecting, and make sure that you actually know how you're collecting that information. And so it's a little bit more complex than just taking a template and a precedent. You have to make sure it applies to your business, that it applies to your business. Alternatively, that's something I'd be able to help you with as well, to give you a little bit more custom fit, and that, again, that insured protection and quality that a lawyer has to offer.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will get back to you on this. Like, I'll send you an email and we can like get together, hop on a call sometime.
My pleasure, yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Raj. Charlene?
Hi, I'm Charlene from
Nice.
Real Model Mom. Our mission is to help girls gain the confidence they need by teaching them the skills they need to achieve their dreams, both on and off the screen. It's a online academy that I'm starting. I was just wondering, well, 10% of our proceeds go to fight human trafficking as well. Is there anything that you can think of that I would need to start with?
In what sense? Like for
So, yeah, it's like an education platform for
okay.
girls.
Yes. So a website terms of use.
Okay.
So make sure
Right.
your website has like terms of use, privacy policy. If there's a forum, for example, if there's integration with social media, make sure your terms of use, tackles what issues going on. Facebook.
Sorry, I missed what you just said.
No, that's okay. It's I grew up in we were 6 kids, so it's if there's like social media integration, make sure that your terms of use policy describes terms of use for that social media integration.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Yeah, that's really great advice. Okay, and then is there something that I need to do for the proceeds going to human trafficking? What if somebody asks me, like, how do you prove that or something? Is there something that I need to put in there as well for that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. But that's something I would put in kind of like your terms of use.
Okay.
And you describe how you do that, make sure you're transparent about how this goes through, and then maybe work in hand with, if you have a bookkeeper or with yourself, just describe how those proceeds are used.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Charlene. Chintan, you're next.
Hi, Michael. My name is Chintan Shah, and I'm the owner of Greenovation Dinnerware here based in London. And our eco-friendly dinnerware products are made of naturally fallen leaves. And our mission is to replace the plastic and paper plates with sustainable, eco-friendly dinnerware products. Like everyone said, my question was about protecting, like product liability, and like you said, to have an insurance, because mine is also sole proprietor business, and we sell online and offline for wholesalers. So like, what sort of insurance would you recommend to protect if we wanted to keep sole proprietorship for a while, before I incorporate the business?
Yeah, so look for small business insurance. Make sure it covers product liability. Make sure that that's an inclusion, not an exclusion. When you sell something, if you're selling online, in your terms of sale, in your terms of contract, make sure it says, try and put in some kind of limitation of liability for your product, okay? You may not be able to do that with a consumer, like a sale to a consumer, but if you sell it to another business, then that might apply.
Okay. And that, so, and another question would be, so if I'm selling to a business, often we work with restaurants or other, wholesale businesses. Uh, is there an agreement that we should be making, between our company and the business we deal with, because they would be buying, every couple of weeks or every month or so to protect, both companies, or protect our product with that company?
Yeah, so if you're selling directly to a business, you have a lot more leeway in figuring out how you want to divide risk. And so as a business owner, you're going to want to say you want to put all that risk on them, right? So try and figure that out. You want to limit the amount of damages that they can claim from you. You want to limit your product liability. You want to make sure that, and that's written down in caps locks. Okay, so if you write these things down, can't be fine print. You should put it like cap locks, same font as the other, or if not a little bigger than the other text, and then try and keep your liability down to a low. It also sounds like you could get like almost a subscription agreement going here. So if you have a business shipping from you at every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks, that sounds like you're the business person, but my first thought is like, hey, maybe you get them auto shipping, right? And so you set, forget, and you just see your revenues come in.
Right. Okay. So for that sort of agreement, is this something that like I would be consulting a lawyer and include the other party and work through it?
Yeah. So you'd say or you don't even have to include the other party. You just say, hey, I have a new order form, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then they sign they probably won't even look at it, to be frank, but they sign the order form and then that's it. So unless you have one very big buyer, that they may want a little heads up. If you say, hey, I have a new improved order form, please sign here.
Right, because sometimes with my business for the wholesale buyers, if there is a like high quantity, like bulk quantity, we won't always have those in stock, so that we would get the confirmation from the client before we make it here, so that we don't get like sometimes just those potential customers would just say no, that we just change our minds. So
Yeah.
that's what, to protect that kind of customers, I guess.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Chintan. Kelly, you're next.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for coming and talking to us today. My name's Kelly, and I'm the creator behind Studio KVR, which is a ceramics and light design company centered around crafting distinct yet functional art pieces for the home. And all of our pieces are handmade in small batches and designed to be loved for years to come. So that's my business. Question I have is kind of in regards to protecting your product and I guess intellectual property. I have a cousin, she's a jewelry designer, and her pieces became quite successful to the point where she was having issues where, like, on Etsy, companies from like China were stealing her exact photos and stealing her designs by just like making them out of like cheap metal or plastic, and just ripping off like her whole business and selling her product for cheaper. And I guess like my concern is just in regards to like having my design stolen and then sold either from like a larger business like an Urban Outfitters or dealing with something where someone's selling it cheaper somewhere else. So I'm just wondering, like, how can I prevent that? And also when it does happen, how can I take it down?
Unfortunately, it's very, 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 very difficult. I have a client that designs handbags, and a month later, there's another producer making an exact replica of the handbags. Everywhere from small business owners all the way to, Prada and Louis Vuitton have this problem. One of the things that you can do is, one option is to market the value of making sure you have an original, like from Kelly Studio KDR, give perhaps like a certificate of authenticity, create like a value in making sure you have the real deal. The other alternative is you can send a cease and desist letter. I'm assuming that also these online market forums, marketplaces have a policy as well of coming down of not selling pirated goods, and so to start in on that. But beyond that, it's difficult. If you have something that you think is true, if you have like a design that's truly unique and you believe it's worth the investment, you can also trademark your design.
I'm assuming that's probably quite expensive.
So it costs $2,500 is the cost that we charge. It's a set standard fee, and it takes again 18 months to 24 months.
Is that the same price? Sorry to interrupt. Is it the same price if you're trademarking a phrase as well?
I believe so. Yes.
That all your questions, Kelly?
Yeah, that was the most pressing
Yeah,
issue.
I hate to disappoint. I hate to disappoint. It's just it's again, like Louis Vuitton is sitting around in their $10 million boardroom right now, figuring out the same question, and it's a tough one.
Yeah, and I noticed it is quite like it's a rampant problem in the craft industry. Like you see a lot of small independent designers that are also getting ripped off by high-end designers who are like stealing their work. I mean, we see that a lot with with Urban Outfitters all the time, just ripping off people's, and it just seems like for the most part, no one can really do anything about it except for like public shaming.
Yeah, if that happens, like if it's not coming from China and it's from like Urban Outfitters, then you can pursue that.
Okay.
That's a lot easier to pursue, but then you have to deal either they, and if it's already trademarked, then it's a slam dunk. But if it's not trademarked and it's just your own design, then it can become a costly process.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you would probably you wouldn't be able to trademark like a full series at once. It would probably have to be like one single design at a time then.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, all the other questions I had were pretty much answered through everyone else. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Omar, are you there with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Omar. We have some
How's it going?
introductions and some questions.
Yeah, so hi, Michael. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Omar Hashemi. I'm one of the co-founders of Nitro Route, along with my partner, Aaron Osborne. He's not here currently at the moment. But our application is an app that helps delivery drivers plan and optimize their routes while save them up to 30% of their day. And I think just the question that I might have is, so we're in the process of getting incorporated because we're trying to get into something, and that's one of the requirements. We've got our privacy policy, we've got terms of agreement and all that kind of stuff. I was just wondering if there's anything else in the app kind of industry, the technology industry that we need.
Do you have a terms of use for your app?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then you have, all right. You have terms of use for your app, and you have a privacy policy. Is it where is your app sold?
So right now we're specifically in Canada, but we plan to distribute throughout like other parts of the world as well. But for now, it's just strictly Canada.
Okay. When you roll out to other parts of the world, like so the States and Europe in particular, if you're collecting personal information, you got to make sure your privacy policy follows those the legislation there as well. So if you break out your app into the UK, actually that's no longer a very good idea. Not idea, excuse me, example considering they're leaving the EU. But if you break out into Ireland, make sure that your privacy policy follows GDPR. Is one consideration I would offer.
Yeah, thanks. Because in our privacy policy, in our terms of use, we strictly tell the users exactly what we're taking, like the information, like the mapping information, all that kind of stuff. So we specifically tell them exactly what we're taking.
Check out if you go to the privacy Google Ontario Privacy Commissioner. They have a really good website and they have a lot of tips on how to draft a privacy policy. That's something else the others should look as well. So they have tips for those kind of do-it-yourself drafting their privacy policies.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael.
No, my pleasure.
Thanks, Omar. Maxwell.
Hello, my name is Maxwell. I resell vintage clothing online through Instagram, this app called Depop. I sell a lot of other brands' clothes. I was wondering, like, after purchase, if there's any liabilities that go along with that. Like, after point of purchase, does the brand control any of like what I'm putting out? Like, if I put, say, like, my own twist on a Nike sweater, would they be able to do anything with that? Would it be considered like a bootleg or something like that?
Maybe. I mean, it depends what you're doing to, like, so let's say you have, let's say you have an original pair of Air Jordans, right? And you have the leather and you add some designs to the Air Jordans. There are ways to, if you're manufacturing it on like en masse, you might run into some problems. But if you manufacture it and then sell it, not necessarily as Air Jordans, but as art, right? Or as artwork. That's kind of one way you can kind of skirt and avoid kind of being crushed by the large big corporation that might want to make sure to protect their name brand. So I think if you kind of fly under the radar and you're not out there like mass producing products, ripping off their logo, you should be okay. But if you ever do have a problem, you might want to consider kind of claiming it to be kind of an artwork instead.
For sure. Thank you. I have another question.
Yeah.
I know, like say your item gets, like, in a retail store or even in your house, it gets stolen. You could like protect that through small business insurance, but what about like refunds online? Like, I had someone where they sent in invalid refund, but they still got the refund for the product, and now I'm like out the product as well as what they paid for it. Would that be something that I could claim under my insurance? Like,
yeah,
would
no,
I
that's
be able to get
tough.
that money back some way?
Yeah, that's tough. Man, out the product and the money. Try when you sell something, try to write it down in your terms and conditions. Like, outline what happens when this happens, because then you like try to take back your refund. You know, in the alternative, there is insurance for that, but then you also got to figure out like, hey, if I claim my insurance, my rates go up, and is it worth? What was the value of the product?
Like $60.
$60, yeah. Then you got to figure out like, is it worth my time, effort, and money? to do that. So, that might just have to be a tax write-off.
Yeah. Thank
Sorry.
you.
No problem, Maxwell.
Okay, Michael. So that's the whole round of people. Does anybody here have a follow-up question that came up while they were listening to someone else's questions? Anything that sparked a note of curiosity or interest? Suraj? Yeah, go ahead.
And Michael, just out of topic, do you also deal with like legal issues with real estate?
Myself, no. But we do. My firm does have a real estate lawyer, and a very very lovely lady who'd be able to help you if you have something like that.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, you guys, it's really nice meeting all of you. If you have any questions, feel free, just reach out, text, call, add me on LinkedIn, email me, whatever it may be. I'm open, and I'm looking forward to having all this COVID stuff go away, so meeting in person and seeing everybody in the London startup community. Yeah, it's exciting, and it's one of the reasons I became a lawyer was to help entrepreneurs like yourself. I was just too chicken, I guess, to take the plunge, and so yeah, it's really great to meet all of you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. This was super informative, and it was amazing to have your experience and your knowledge. The firm's name is Siskins, Christine. They're located kind of by the train tracks. If you're coming down on, what's that, Colburn? Is that correct, Michael?
Yes. Yes.
It's really lovely. It's a beautiful building. That's right. Yeah. It's like an old train station, isn't it?
I think. Yeah, actually, I think it used to be a brewery at one point. But actually we're moving, believe it or not. By next summer, in theory, we will be in the TD Towers.
Oh, all right.
So, and I don't know, I'm really scared of elevators. And so I might just have to take the stairs every day. I'll have the best calves in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, so. Anyway.
18th floor stairs. You'll get your workout in for sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, we really appreciate you being here. This was really lovely. For those of you that are not at your computers or have your cameras off, if you can turn them back on very briefly, so we can do a wave to thank Michael for his time and his knowledge and expertise. We really appreciate it.
You guys too. I give you the Spock.
Oh, love it even more. Thank you so much, Michael.
No
nice meeting you, Michael.
And I hope you'll with Michael if you have questions.
Thanks for everything, man.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Michael.
Right.
Have a good day.
You guys. You too.
Bye.